Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the February Hindmarsh Shire Council meeting. I'd like to acknowledge that this meeting is being held on the land of the Watchabolik, Jardwa, Jarba, Jarli, Wagara and Jopagalt nations, who we acknowledge as traditional owners of country. Also acknowledge the important ongoing role that our Indigenous people play within our community and pay our respects to elders past and present. Thank you, Council and Council staff. And welcome to our public gallery today. Okay, item 2 on the agenda today is apologies. Have we got any apologies, Ms. Rebel? Yes. And before we go on with that, this meeting's being broadcast on the internet and the recording of the meeting will be published on Council's Facebook page. As a visitor in the public gallery, you may be filmed. By remaining in the public gallery, you consent to being filmed and for the recording of you to be made publicly available by the Council. A copy of the Council's live streaming and recording of Council meetings policy is available at the back of this room and on the Council's website. Please speak with one of our staff members if you have any questions. Thank you. Item 2, apologies.
No apologies.
No apologies today. Thanks, Mrs. Rebel. Items 3, as a council or council officer, does anybody declare a conflict of interest on today's agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I will declare a conflict of interest in confidential 14.4, and that will be material.
Material, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I would also like to declare a conflict of interest in item 14.4, also material.
Thank you, Petra. Okay. Item 4 is confirmation of minutes, and there's a recommendation for councillors there.
And I'm happy to move a motion. The minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on Wednesday, the 13th of December 2023, the council chamber as circulated to councillors be taken as read and confirmed.
Thank you, Councillor Albrecht, and that's seconded by Councillor Gersh. Thank you. Item 5 is public question. All those in favour, against? Been a long Christmas, I'm out of forms. Item 5, public question and submission time. Do we have any questions or submissions today?
No. Not today.
Thanks, Mrs. Barrella. Okay, item 6 are activity reports. I'll start. I'll draw on, I went to the Friends of Lake Albocatra AGM in Rainbow a while ago now, the 11th of December. But there hasn't been water in Lake Albocatra for 45 years, but the committee still meets, and it doesn't have to be about the water in the lake. They meet regarding the roads surrounding the lake, the facilities, the amenities, and trees and, you know, tree planting and all sorts of things. So it's a credit to them that they're still operating. They'd obviously like to see water in the lake. And so we might have to talk to our friends from GWM, Councillor Ismo, and see what we can do. Further than that, we did the school presentations during December, which were really good. I enjoy going to them. And I'll move right along. I forgot to put the citizenship ceremony on the 29th of June. I apologise for that. 29th of June, January, sorry. And also I visited the 4 towns for the Australia Day ceremonies, and they're once again well supported, and congratulations to all the award recipients, not only the Shire Awards, but the individual town awards, which is good to see, and they're all well deserved, and congratulations to all those people. And the rest I'll put down as tabled. So, Councillor Bywaters.
Thanks, Ben. I will leave all my December ones as read. People can read online on the agenda what we've been up to. One thing I will just mention, because I did forget to write it here, was the New Year's Eve celebration in Dimboola. It was a 70s disco and it was amazing. My husband and I went and we had a lovely time. I think looked like everybody had a really good time. I don't think there was many activities throughout our show. There might have been a few private events, but it was very, very well attended. And yeah, I was born in early 60s, so 70s is my music, so it was fabulous. And thanks to all the organisers, I think it was quite and Hindmarsh Shire Council, of course, for giving the grant for to make it possible. That nearly covered the price of the disco, I think, and it was a pretty simple event because it was basically take your own nibbles and chairs and all those things and sit down and enjoy the company of everybody around you and good music. And I must admit, I met quite a few new people, which was wonderful, and caught up with some so congratulations to both the Dimboola, that is now the Progress Association, and the Art Inc. group in Dimboola. They did a great job. I'm sure Councillor Nelson was there too, so I'm sure she might have a bit more to say on that. But it was fabulous. It shows that our Shire really does appreciate events that get put on by people. And it's a beautiful spot to have it too, at the back of the library. And it was a perfect evening weather-wise. The Korean New Year was spectacular, and if anyone hasn't been before, I'm assuming next year it'll be in Horsham, because the Korean community is growing in Horsham and they're taking it in turns now. But if you haven't been to a cultural event such as the Korean New Year, it's well and truly worth going to. The costumes, the food, the talent of the young people learning their cultural dance, it was just fabulous. The Nil Community Centre was packed top and bottom and standing room only. Yeah, very, very proud. It was so lovely. Uncle Ron came and did a smoking ceremony out the back on the car park. And I think one of the highlights for me was a photo taken of a little Indian girl, learning how, like, just him showing her about the smoking ceremony, and just showing the diversity in our communities is growing and is really being embraced by all the different cultures and, you know, farmers and everybody that attends. So it was amazing. And hard work too. Some of those dances are hard to learn, exhausting. So I think all those young people and some of the older ones that did the dances would not need to go to the gym. But that's really, yeah, I just will mention, because I did have, I know that I attended a nil train station clean-up that Mark Billington organised, and so I had a few people from Dimboola ask me if we could clean up the Dimboola one. On Australia Day I went and inspected that. My family was staying down at Ankle Bend, and that's sort of something we've done for Shebeen, Ankle Bend, like all my children's lives. So we sort of reflected on Australia Day of the beautiful river that goes through our Shire, and I did check out the train station, which of course is nowhere near as bad as Dimboola, but could probably use a bit of weeding. So that was just why I popped that in there, just to let people know that I care about all the train stations in our Shire, and I believe strongly in getting more trains coming to our region so that we've got better public transport to take us to the cities. That's all for me. Thank you, Mayor Island.
Thanks, Councillor Bywaters. Councillor Albrecht.
Thanks, Mayor Island. Following on with Council Bywaters, I would just touch on that the Town Committee had our big event for the year, which was the Christmas carols. But if anyone is in the audience today or is listening, we've got our planning workshop on Sunday at the Little Desert Lodge, and we're always looking for Nil Town Advisory Committee members. If you don't want to be an official member, you're still welcome to come along to the meetings. And we also just look for volunteers when we're trying to run events. So it's a small band of us that did the Christmas carols. Happy for that to be a big group. And if anyone has any ideas about things they'd like to see about Nil, please reach out. You can reach out to myself, the Chair, or the Secretary of the Town Committee, because we're looking for ideas to set our 2024 plan. That's all from me.
Albrecht. Yep, town committees are a great idea. Anybody's welcome. You don't have to be on the committee, and it's a good way of airing your ideas for the town going forward. You, Councillor Gersh.
Mr. Mayor, just as read, except for a couple, the Korean New Year, as Councillor Bywaters said, I just couldn't get over the amount of people who were there, and it was just a magnificent sight. The costumes, the young people, and yeah, it was, I couldn't think of a word, Councillor Bywaters. You used sensational, was it? Well, I put huge down. I don't think that does justice to it, but it really was a fantastic day, and it just shows how important our Korean community is to our community. The other one, the Australia Day ceremonies, I accompanied the mayor. I drove to Japarut and then went around to the 4 towns. And what I will make very strong comment on this, that it came out strongly to the mayor and I and Councillor Ismay that our communities are 100% behind Australia Day, and it came out again very strong that they wish council to continue the support like we have for whatever many years, and they wish that support to continue. But it came out extremely strong that Australia Day in Hindmarsh Shire is here to stay if our community, which we should take notice of, has their say. But again, very well attended. Excuse me. It's interesting, and I won't get into politics on it, but someone like Woolworths, who sponsored Australia Day for 25 years with an ambassador, etc., and now they're anti. I know it's only the CEO that's perhaps making this decision, I'm not sure, but I sort of couldn't quite understand the decision on that from a big company where they have supported it for all those years. And it's disappointing when you see some of this, but anyway, that's life. But again, the community are very, very supportive, and I would be strongly recommending that council continue to support Australia Day. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Councillor
Mayor Ireland, I just take note at Councillor Gersh's comments. He doesn't have evidence that 100% of community members in Hindmarsh support the views he's just stated. There may be true that a majority do, that's to be tested, but I just would like to clarify. I don't think it's appropriate to say 100%.
If I said 100%, I didn't actually mean that, Mr. Mayor. I was saying majority.
I think that's a turn of
I
phrase.
think again, I would say nearly 100% at our Australia Day ceremonies. I would say 99%. I did not have a negative on Australia Day. So, yeah. So, if I could relate to the actual 4-day celebrations, it was very close to 100%. But I appreciate the comment.
Yep, thanks, Councillor Gersh. Of course, an easy way of fixing this is just have it on the last Friday of January or the last Friday of February, and then you can't attach a date or a number to it. Anyway, Councillor Nelson.
I'll take it as read, but I better comment on the New Year's Eve party, as he's alluded to. Just congratulations to Artsim for having the foresight to apply for a grant to have that event happen. It's great to have a local, my local there, providing the disco, and it also gave people an opportunity to get into the theme and dress up. There were some really good 70s costumes there and big hair and things like that. So it was a very fun night. People of all ages, very small children to quite elderly people. It was something that was a night for all to enjoy. So well done to that committee.
Thanks, Councillor Nelson. Councillor Ismay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've missed a couple of things on mine, but I don't think much of it needs commenting on. I did go to the Rainbow Secondary College speech night along with yourself, and which was very well attended. And I sponsor the Ducks of the school as a local sponsor. And I did go to the December briefing at council meeting, which I didn't know. That's all. I don't have to say anything else. Thank you.
I thought I saw you there, Councillor Ismay, at the last council meeting. Yeah. Thank you. I'll move on to item 7, correspondence. I will comment. We had a letter addressed to myself from Kevin and Kay Hett from local community members. I see that a couple of councillors did take time to write back to them with more or less our overall council view. Our council supports our flags and of different cultures and groups, and we also support a pride committee within our shire. And modern society is an ever-changing space, and our council tries to embrace diversity. We move on with the times if we can, and we'll try to still remain a progressive council as we go on. It would be my hope. So I hope that and your replies, hope in some way that answers Kevin and Kay. And there's a recommendation there regarding the correspondence. Yes, Councillor Nelson.
I'll move the council notes the attached correspondence.
Thank you, Councillor Nelson. We've got a seconder. Councillor Ismay, thank you. All those in favour? Against? That is carried. Councillor 8, planning permits, and I'll pass to Ram. Thank you, Ram.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the reporting on quarter 2 this financial year on the number of planning permits approved under the CEO delegation. So there are 2 types of planning permit we generally have. One, the straightforward ones, which goes through the Vic Smart planning permit for swift approvals. Others go through more rigorous process, which is again approved by the CEO under the delegation. Any of the complex permits or permits that has submission from objections received, we generally bring it to the council for the approval or decision, basically. So we've had 6 planning permits approved under Vic Smart and 6 on a normal process. There is that council notes all the planning permits approved given the figure.
Thank you, Ram. Are there any questions to the Vic Smart? Yes, Councillor Jones.
You just explained, Ram, there's 2 sections there at the same date. Why is that coming under a different?
Sorry?
There's 6 planning at the top, and then there's another array. Why are they different?
6 of them at the top are the Vic Smart.
Yeah.
So Vic Smart permits are
Yes, I'm aware of that.
generally the straightforward ones.
Yeah.
And the bottom one are the normal planning permit, which goes through a bit longer process. So Vic Smart permits are generally 10 days approval, and the applications are not advertised or referred to external authorities, whereas the other one goes through the full process.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gersh. There's a recommendation there. If there's no further questions.
So I move that council notes the Vic Smart applications and planning applications approved by the acting CEO or delegate for the period 1st of October 2023 to 31st December 2023.
Thanks, Councillor Gersh. If I get a second, Councillor Albrecht, thank you. Would you like to speak to the Councillor Albrecht? Would you? If not, I'll ask for a show of hands. All those for? Against? That is carried. Thank you. Item 9 are reports requiring a decision. Item 9.1 is financial report for the period ending 31/12/2023. I'll pass to Petra.
I'll speak to this report.
Okay.
So this report provides council with the half-yearly financials for the period ending 31st of December 2023. It provides both financial and non-financial indicators in the form of the dashboard that's provided. We have an executive summary. You can see on page 5 of the finance report that there are no areas that require immediate action. We are monitoring the rates debtors, sundry debtors, and our infringement debtors. And our ratios are also looking really good at the moment. So there's an explanation there on what each of the ratios mean for council. As at the 31st of December, total income was $16.5 million, total expenses of 10.1, with a year-to-date surplus of 6.3 against a budgeted surplus of 5.7. The explanation of the variances in relation to the income and the expenditure items are included there for councillor information. I will note that if you have a look at the operating grants recurrent, there is a significant variance there. So $480,000 in operating recurrent grants against a budget of 2.75. This is predominantly due to the early payment of the Victorian Grants Commission. So the 23-24 Grants Commission payment was made before the 30th of June last year. So that sat in last year's financial accounts. At the 31st of December, there was $13.6 million in cash and equivalents that is budgeted for the year. and our capital works year to date is $4.25 million against a budget of 4.37. There's a number of carry forwards in our capital works program from the previous year that will be spent before the end of this financial year, and that also explains why our cash and equivalents are slightly higher at the 31st of December. For councillor information, we've provided there the capital works schedule for the year that shows each of our capital works projects against when they're forecasted to be undertaken. And we also provide the half-yearly performance report of operations for your information. I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
We might have a few. Yes, councillor Gersh.
Smith, to Mrs. Breville, with our fire brigade levy, we give them a small allowance to collect that funding, don't we?
Yes, we receive a small administration grant to administer the receiving and the remitting of the fire service levy.
I suppose what hit me when I read through that I see we pay out $500 million, I think we're nearly due to pay out. But on the other hand, in the credit column, that with interest rates the way they're going, that has certainly changed our finance on that side of it.
We need to remit the interest we earn on fire service levy to the state government.
Oh, you're kidding.
It's not retained by council. As part of the reporting that our revenue officer needs to submit to the state government, there is columns for interest.
So how do you calculate that then?
There's a calculation in the information that she has to send through to them.
I thought we were doing all right out of that one, but so we're not. I mean, there would be probably a little bit of a kickback somewhere, I suppose, with the interest, a little bit of rub off, or the small amount that we were allowed would be backing to cover our staff costs, I imagine.
There's a lot of work involved in administering, yes.
Thanks, councillor. Yes, councillor Nelson.
Yes. A question regarding the Wimmera River Discovery Trail in the capital works there. But getting a lot of feedback from the community, wondering when it's going to be sort of officially opened, how far the track's going.
About 2 hours ago.
Yes, so we were delayed because of COVID, and then we were delayed because of the floods, and then we've been delayed again because of the wet weather, because we're working in the river corridor and we're actually crossing under the highway at Lochiel as you're heading towards Nil, the first bridge that takes you on the creek underneath. So it's been extremely wet, and unfortunately the contractor hasn't been able to get out on site. But there's also just a few permissions with government agencies that we're just waiting to come in. So as soon as those permissions are received, and hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed that we don't get any rain for a couple of months, the works will certainly commence on those parts. The boardwalk and the small bridges as part of the Discovery Trail, they have all been installed. So we're talking, there's sections of the track that need a bit of work. The majority of the track will be naturally formed. It's already existing, and just directional bollards and signage as well that needs to be installed. So Phil, I think we're keeping our fingers crossed that in the next few months this project will be completed if the weather is in our favour.
It's been a long time, 3 terms.
Yeah.
Yes. Just one more. My understanding is there will be bollards with numbers on for emergency services to be able to identify where someone is if they need emergency services.
Correct. Yes.
There's also a great app you can actually, for anybody, you can put on your phone. It's an emergency thing. So if I'm in a paddock, and I don't really even know where I am, some of these farms, but it automatically sat navs where you are. They know where you are, even if you pass out as you're trying to ring. So that's what. Yes. Yeah, and I believe the civil construction people are ready to go on the Discovery Trail. It's more about getting permission on some of the land areas.
And for the track to dry out.
Yeah.
If I may, one of those permissions came through late yesterday. So, and that will then trigger the next one. So I'm hoping by the end of this week we'll have all permissions that were very, a long time in the obtain.
Any further questions on the financials? I have one, if I may. I noticed that the rates contributed 49% of last year's expenditure, and but this year it's 59%. Is that the minute I saw that, I thought maybe our LRCI that we're not getting, or grant funding's less, or that more rates go towards our total spend?
So the ratio that you're referring to is we look at the total income that council has received. So as last year was 49% of the total revenue council received at the 30th of June compared to rates revenue we received. It's 59% to the 31st of December, and that's predominantly due to the early payment of the Grants Commission has reduced our grant income for this financial year to date. So it does look like our rates concentration is higher. Should we receive the Grants Commission payment early for the 24-25 year, that will level out. But we don't have any guarantee each year that we are going to receive that early. So looking at that rates concentration, it can alter year on year depending on what grants we receive, if our recurrent grants are paid early or if they're paid in the year that they actually are assigned to.
So it's not necessarily a hurting figure, it's more or less just a play on figures and time of year thing.
I think the main things it shows is how reliant we are as a small council on that grant income to be able to deliver all of the services and the infrastructure that we deliver to the community.
Okay, so if no further questions, there's a recommendation there to councillors.
Mayor Ireland, I'm happy to move a motion that council notes the financial report for the period ending 31st December 2023 as presented.
Councillor Ulrich, if I have a second, thank you. Councillor Nelson, would you like to speak to your motion? Councillor Nelson.
I'd just like to comment and say it's wonderful to see the amount of visitors at the Dimbulo Caravan Park, well, indeed at all our caravan parks. More than 2,500 people for November and December in Dimbulo's. Considering where we were a few years ago, I think the addition of the extra cabins is responsible for a lot of that as well.
Yeah. I think it's about for Easter already, isn't it? Yeah, it's a caravan park in Demi, yeah. Okay, I'll put it to a vote for all those in favour. Against, that is carried. Thank you, and thanks for that report, Mrs. Revel. It was very good. 9.2, Hindmarsh Shire Council Community Action. I'll pass to Petra.
Yeah, correct this time, thank you. So this report presents the final Hindmarsh Shire Council Community Action Plan 24 to 28 for council adoption after a period of consultation that occurred in December and January. The plan amalgamates identified community initiatives by priority and time frame, with ideas ranging from major capital works projects to advocacy projects to business development initiatives. It's responsive to the identified needs, cultures, histories and aspirations of our diverse community. The document now, when adopted, becomes a reference document for council and council staff and can provide direction to council for inclusion in future plans, budgets and long-term financial plans. This in mind is not static, and we're certainly open to new identified initiatives and changing priorities. The plan ensures that our planning is aligned with the interests of the community that we're serving. We also have Phil King here, who facilitated the plan, if councillors have any questions.
Thank you. Petra, any questions to Petra regarding that report? Yes, Councillor.
I think the plan's fantastic. I love the way it's being presented, but I was disappointed there was no community submissions. And noting that in recent plans, we've got some good community submissions. I'm just wondering whether the timing was terrible for community. Obviously, harvest, Christmas, summer holidays. I love how it is, but I just did want to put that question out about the fact that this is a 4-year plan. This is the most important document I would argue that we have as a council. And so the fact that nobody wrote back, or even, because sometimes it can be feedback about, I think you need to change. Sometimes it's just feedback. I think you've done a great job as planned. So I just didn't want to not comment on what stood out to me as being obviously of concern that we didn't get one submission. But interested in what other councillors think.
Any other questions or comment on that? Or
Very happy community.
All busy.
easy? Although a lot of it is taken from previous community consultations and council and public wish lists and things like that, really.
This plan was informed from the consultation sessions that were held, and everything that was brought up in those consultation sessions has been incorporated. And maybe that's why people haven't commented, because the plan actually contains everything that was mentioned in there. But certainly, we're looking at consulting with the community, and we can certainly talk about this as part of our consultation throughout the year. Yeah. And as Petra said, it's not a document that's going to sit on a shelf. It's something that we will continually review, and it may be as things arise that we'll amend the document.
Thank you. You're happy to move the motion. Thanks, Councillor Walters.
I would like to move that Council adopts the Community Action Plan 2024-2024.
I have seconded, Councillor Nelson. Thank you. Would you like to speak to your motion?
I will, thank you.
Yeah.
And I too noted that we haven't got any submissions, but I just hope that everybody takes the time to read it. I'd like to commend the staff on the lovely photos and the way it's set out. I think it's an easy document to read. I know mightn't be on the high list of everybody's reading to read council documents, but this is about our communities, and I'm one of those people that used to read it before I was on council, so some people do. And if you do read this and something stands out to the community that they think could be different or could be better or might just need a bit of altering, you know, there's always, you could feel free to contact the council and the staff or the councillors or come to the next community conversations. We take feedback all the time. It has been adopted once this goes through, if it passes, but it is certainly a living document, and congratulations to everyone involved. And I submit it in moving this motion. I submit it to the community as your document.
Thank you, Councillor Byles. Councillor Nelson, did you want to speak further on?
Oh, just to add thank you to everyone who attended the community consultations and to put input into this document.
Thank you. So I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour, against, that motion's carried. Thank you. Item 9.3 is the Hindmarsh Shire Council Economic Development Strategy 2024 to 2028, and I'll pass to Petra.
Thank you. So this report seeks final council adoption of the Hindmarsh Shire Council Economic Development Strategy, following a process of community consultation that took place between October 2023 and November. So the economic development strategy builds on current economic context within the Shire to identify strategies and targets to support our people, employment and socio-economic wellbeing, housing and economic output. At the close of the consultation period, we received 11 submissions. So all people who wrote submissions were given the opportunity to present to Council at the December meeting. And so officer responses and all the submissions have been included in the report, including any amendments to the strategy based on the submissions. So it's a thorough document which considers current estimates and sets targets to guide our community and organisation through emerging economic development opportunities. Is also informed by and designed to complement existing wider regional objectives, as well as Council's existing plans and strategies. Phil King is also here. He assisted in the development of this and can take any questions.
Thank you, Petra. Have we got any questions on?
Actually, just with one of the statistics, which has confused me a little. Supposedly, we are between now and 2036 going to lose 48 people out of our community, and again, we're going to gain 77 jobs between now and 2036. And we also are going to gain 326 houses, and I just wonder why we need 326 more houses when we're going to lose 48 people in the population. Doesn't make sense.
I think that's a result of families becoming smaller. So we are seeing what we used to see as families with 3 or 4 children, we aren't seeing as predominantly going forward. But I think also, yes, we're creating jobs, but it's showing that you don't actually have to reside in the Shire to be employed in the Shire. There's a lot of online remote work now, and this may turn around and we may actually be able to attract people to live in our Shire that are working for a company based in Melbourne, but they want our lifestyle. So yes, we've got some targets sitting here, but it would be fantastic. And part of our strategy in our council plan is to promote our livability and ability to work remotely. So we will certainly hope that when we come and report to you on our statistics going forward, that we've been able to turn that around.
Oh, we just also wonder where we're going to find land to build the 326 houses on, because we haven't got any spare blocks of land other than some vacant blocks that people own that don't want to sell.
Well, we've got land available. It's a matter of it being developed. And so we are seeing that there is some inquiries regarding developing land. And so part of our strategy in the economic development is to be able to assist with opening up to allow for additional housing.
Also, this is 3 years to me. 10, 12 years down the track, we'll have a review of our landscape as well, which might lead to rezoning some of the land surrounding. Well,
when are you talking? 12 years time.
Well, the projection, so this is saying 2036. So the targets, when you look at the targets, it says your increase in housing is by 2036.
Yeah.
So that's 12 years down the track.
I really believe we need the housing. We are like, there are people there's a gentleman in Raven want to build flats in the town. He's hell bent on doing it, and he can't find any land. Like we looked at a block request from a health service, and that's changed the situation. There's a couple other blocks, but people don't want to sell them. He's got nowhere to go, and there's people wanting to build houses. There's no blocks of land available, so 12 years is going to be too late.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is the planning scheme review is on the horizon. We've just commenced the planning scheme review, and as a part of that recommendation, that might come back to say there is this demand, and hence we need to rezone some of the land to the residential lands. And again, the matter will be presented to the council for making a decision. Those strategic decisions will be determined by the council.
Just on that, Ram, I know that arable land's not easy to get hold of to change from farming, but I know in Japarra there's some 40-acre blocks which, with the size of the equipment these days, it's just not practical for farming. So I don't know, is that planning commission in the power to maybe open those up?
Well, planning scheme review will provide us few of the guidance on what we need to do, and then we'll have to go forward to do some more strategic works to conduct some of those studies. So it's not it's not a problem that can be fixed over a month or two. It probably takes about 12 to 18 months to get through all of those rezoning, all of those processes.
Have we got any further questions on the report? Oh, sorry, Councillor.
Well, I guess mine's not really a question through you, Mayor. It's just in regards to what Councillor Ismay's his first question regarding the declining numbers in the Shire. I think it's just important to note for the public that that's not necessarily in our towns, that it's been a theme that Hindmarsh Shire has been declining, but it's mostly the farmers moving into towns or moving away and, operating farms from away. So I know that in the census, nil actually grew by a very small amount, and I wouldn't be surprised that by now that Dimboola has. So, it's the numbers in the Shire, not the numbers in our towns. And I think that our towns have, especially our 2 major towns, but all our towns have the opportunity to grow. And the migrant people in Dimboola, like the Karen population and other families coming, they're also having larger families. So it's a bit more like us in the 70s, 60s and 70s. So there's those sorts of opportunities, and they're in Dimboola being close to Horsham, you know, there's those opportunities to live in a beautiful town with a river and commute to Horsham. So I think there's lots of complexities, and it's going to be really good to see how this all pans out. And I'm more optimistic than this, but I've always been a glass half full person. So it's a great plan though. Thanks. It's good to have. You've got to have something, and you've got to be realistic, and then you aim to beat it. You aim to be better, don't you?
Say budgets are made to be broken. Any other questions? If not, there's a recommendation there.
I'll move that the council adopts the Hindmarsh Shire Council Economic Development Strategy 2024-2028.
Thank you, Councillor Gersh. Have I got a second, Councillor Ulrich? Thank you. Would you like to speak to the motion, Councillor Gersh? Councillor Ulrich? If not, I'll ask for a show of hands. All those in favour? Against? That is carried. Thank you. Item 9.4, the Council Plan 23-24 Action Progress Report. I'll pass to Mrs. Revel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this report provides the half-yearly update on our council plan actions. So you'll see in the report we've provided Q1 and Q2 updates. So I'll just pick out some of the exciting things that have happened over the last 6 months. Our seniors concert was held in October last year. We had over 360 people attend. We had buses come and transport them from across the Shire. We also had people from outside of our Shire come and attend that event, which was very well received. We have been hosting youth events, and we've been working towards making the youth events quite accessible. And I think having 116 young people register for our formal at the end of last year and turn out, it shows that our efforts that we're putting in to provide buses and make our events accessible to all is certainly a success. As you can see in the report, one of the youth that attended said that was the best formal they've ever been to, which is great. We have translated quite a number of documents and information flyers into Karen. They've been placed on the local Karen Facebook page. It includes posters on animal registration, how to access interpreter services. So if they need to access council, we can use a translator to assist them. Caltrop weed, which is your four-corner jacks. We translated a poster on the need to remove those from nature strips, and the transfer station summer hours were also translated. We have submitted a grant application in the heavy vehicle safety productivity for 2 of our key strategic routes. We do look out for grants for funding our roads whenever possible. And so this grant closed in January. So we have submitted that application. So that is for the Timbul, Minyip and under theme 3, all of the cabins that were funded through the Regional Tourism Fund have been delivered and were available for booking over the Christmas period. Our business assistance grants round 2 is currently being advertised, along with our community assistance grants as well. They'll be presented to our March council meeting. We've just adopted the economic development strategy, so staff will now start working towards implementing that strategy, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Any guests, Ms.
Miriam,
Councillor?
I've got questions. First, if I could ask with what timeframes are you expecting to hear around the nil kindergarten grant application, and sort of how we're progressing towards the 30 hours we can think about for next year, given that our kinder students have just started the 2024 year.
They have. We haven't been given a date on when we will hear if our grant for the nil kinder was successful, but we are hoping that it's in the first quarter of this year. They have assured us that if it is successful, it will be in place and operational for the start of the 2025 kinder year. We are working closely with Emerge around the implementation of up to 30 hours of 4-year-old kinder, which also starts at the beginning of 2025 as well.
So Emerge, so is the expectation that even if the grant didn't exist, we would use the physical building as it stands? Like, I guess Emerge, knowing that they're on a tender cycle too, which I wasn't sure when the the kindergarten tender with council is due for renewal. What timeframes?
We've still got another 2 years, I think,
2 years.
That.
So the expectation is that Emerge would be under contract there definitely in 2025. And if the building didn't go ahead, are they, I guess, doing the work that we need to see now in this town to have the qualified staff? Because they're concerned, obviously, with the current building, it's not used to capacity. We know that in the childcare space, we know that at the Fridays issue, and that staffing continues to be of concern.
So there's been a lot of work being undertaken in the background with training authorities. I'm just going to have a look for the email now. I attended a meeting last week with Fed Uni, and Fed Uni are looking at running a pilot program for community members who might have a Cert 3 in early childhood and would like to upgrade to the diploma. They're looking at running a bridging course to enable those that have done the Cert 3 quite some time ago. So it's not based on the current Cert 3. The subjects are slightly older, but they're working in a childcare facility and they'd like to upgrade their skills and qualifications to a diploma. So there is an information session being held over in Yarri Ambiac in the coming weeks. Watch our Facebook page because we'll certainly be putting a flyer up on that. I've sent that information to Emerge to pass on to their staff as well. It would be great to be able to run that locally in our communities and upskill the staff that we have, because that will mean that staffing our kinder, our 3-year-old and our 4-year-old kinder will be much easier if we've got those diploma qualified, and the university qualified staff member is absent for that day. So what happens now is that if the university staff member is absent on the day of kinder and there's no suitably qualified person, unfortunately the kinder session is cancelled for the day. But by upskilling, we can still run a kinder session.
Fantastic. Yeah, because I can appreciate, the building, obviously the staffing and working with a third party, and knowing that obviously it's a contracted basis anyway. So then whatever happens after that term is a lot of logistics. But I guess obviously Kingwood, now we've got the 2024 year has commenced. The clock is absolutely counting down, knowing that enrolment should be expected in July, I would imagine, for the 2025 kinder year. So needing to know what's in place.
Yes, there's a lot of work happening in the background.
Yeah. The next question was around the Nil Streetscape plan, and noting that it hasn't been able to be progressed, and you're now having conversations with For Education in January. But I was just wanting to ask again, for my knowledge and the community knowledge, about the budget allocation to the Nil Streetscape plan in this current financial year, because we've had the plan. We took a long time, obviously, to get the little bridge that joins between. So that was kind of from a prior financial year happened this allocation hasn't got up. So just wondering if you could update everyone on that project.
Sure. So the Nil Streetscape implementation is funded in 2 stages at the moment. We've got 2 different local roads community infrastructure phases that are funding. Stage 1 is the link between the main central business district to the lake. So we're currently liaising with BGLC and the Nil Lake Committee around how, if somebody stops in our central business district, at the moment they don't know there's a lake, and so how do we improve visitor signage and make it attractive, and let them know that it's only 80 metres or 100 metres, and then there's this amazing lake there for them to visit. So as recent as just late last week, we had an internal discussion on that stage moving forward. And I think we have now come up with something that is acceptable. And so works should commence very soon on that linking path. But it will also include signage at key points around the town. So if somebody's coming into town, there's a sign that quite clearly says Nil's got a lake, whether they come from Melbourne, whether they come from Adelaide, at the corner of Campbell Street, to direct them down that way. If they stop in JPEX Park as well, there's signage there, because at the moment there's not a lot of signage around town to show that there is a lake. And then there's stage 2, which is funded through another LRCI round. And stage 2 is the link between Goldsworthy Park through to JPEX Park through that centenary section. And so that will involve a bit of a weaving path through the centre with some, we haven't pinned down exactly how we're going to display it, but flags of the different cultures that are within Hindmarsh. And so that's in a planning stage at the moment. Being close to a Vic Roads road, we do need to consult with Vic Roads, and we will need their approval for those works to be undertaken. So again, there's a lot of work happening in the background to get all of the necessary permits and approvals from the different agencies and organisations that are involved in the different sections of where the Nil Streetscape is going. But it is happening.
And knowing that budget submissions, now is the time that we're thinking about the 24-25 year in relation to the Nil Streetscape plan. Has there been any conversation around, which might be the next step? Like those first identified steps obviously came through that community consultation to say where this was a 10-year plan. I think it was $7 million at the time. We said that's probably much more now. So it was always going to be little bits and pieces at a time, as you discussed, as per grants.
Yeah.
But is there conversation around what might come next, and how does the Nil community advocate for in the upcoming budget the next section?
So at this stage, we're just focusing on completing stage 1 and 2.
Yeah.
The funding for LRCI phase 4, which is funding stage 2, carries through the 24-25 financial year. So we haven't looked at stage 3 at this stage, because we just want to complete stage 1 and 2, and obtaining permission from different government agencies can take some time.
I am mindful that it's that obviously as we prepare for budgets, communities, we've just launched endorsed the community plan that has a lot of things, small projects, large projects, short term, long term, but just trying to understand, because when a community comes in and they want something, it's difficult for them to sort of go back so far to say you actually need to sort of start that conversation 6 months prior to a financial year commencing to kind of progressing forward. So thank you for your explanation.
Thanks, Councillor Orbeck. Any further questions to the council plan? If not, there's a recommendation. Council plan in the soft drawer.
Mayor Ireland, I'm happy to move the motion that council receive the council plan actions 23 to 2024 second quarter update.
Second.
Thank you. Councillor Gersh seconded. Thank you. Would you like to speak? Thank you. Councillor Gersh. I'll ask for a show of hands. All those in favour, against, that is carried. 9.5, the community engagement policy. I'll pass to Mrs. Rebel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've undertaken a review of our community engagement policy and made some changes to that policy. So this report's proposing that we put the draft community engagement policy out for consultation from the 8th to the 22nd of February. We're proposing to undertake the consultation by way of a survey. And we're also, as part of consultation on our community engagement policies, wanting feedback on the best way for council to engage with our community. So there are some updates to the policy. We've included a table which provides greater detail and clarity as to the type, goal and methodology of our engagement styles. We've clearly differentiated between what is consultative and what is deliberative engagement, and we've provided some examples for people to understand. And there's also some guidance on when we will and we won't consult with the community. We've made some changes around legislative requirements and also just amending some complex subpoints that were in the policy. So there is a recommendation there for council.
Thanks, Mrs. Revel. Any questions? Yes.
Yeah, can I ask you a question? Coming back to, and we could see the difference between the submission numbers with the economic development strategy, which may have been local businesses and passionate people responding compared to the council plan, which we don't know whether that was timing or just, as we said, it was well written and had everyone's detail in it. But under this community engagement rule and kind of the requirements for putting things out for public consultation submission, you just touched on surveys then. Like, can for some of these plans, we actually do it much more in kind of nearly like a Survey Monkey form where people do extra comments? Do you think there's a barrier for someone to having to put an official submission? And I appreciate it has your name and that means there's accountability and transparency. But equally, is that a barrier to people just feeding in and participating in this? I'm just wondering kind of what is the local government guidance around where it would be beneficial for you to sometimes make things simpler for someone to sit on their phone. But do you know what I mean? And I'm thinking fill out a survey and say, scoring it and rating it versus it actually has to be an official submission.
So I guess when we say survey, our consultation, and Petra could show you now, they pretty much are a survey.
Yes.
Even submitting to the community plans and the economic development strategy, it's asking just some simple questions around each of the pillars that were in our strategies. And so we've tried to simplify it as much as possible so that people will say, oh, it'll only take me a couple of minutes and I'll submit my feedback on that one.
And we can use things like QR codes around the community as well. So if someone's walking past, they see a poster, they don't have to type in a URL, they can just scan the QR code and do it as they walk down the street. So it is a relatively simple, accessible process for something like this.
Yeah.
You'll have everyone getting run over by trucks.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions to that report?
Comments there. It's interesting when we do get criticised sometimes that we don't communicate with our community. Our last 4 agenda items have been consultation with our community. I don't think we can do much more than that. And this is another one. I mean, I know they've got different facets in them, but certainly we can't be criticised for not trying to.
I'm going to comment on that. I'll let it run as long as I can if I think our questions are relative and giving the community information. I think they have been the last 40 minutes. I'm happy to let it run. Yeah. Okay, any further questions to report? If not, I'll ask there's a recommendation there. Yes, Councillor Bywaters.
I move that Council endorses the draft community engagement policy for the community consultation for the period 8th of February 2024 to the 22nd of February 2024.
Thanks, Councillor Bywaters. For second, Councillor Nelson. Thank you. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Just to say what we've been saying around the room, I think, hopefully we're making it as simple as possible. Please engage and put in your comments and ideas and if you have any trouble at all, feel free to talk to a councillor or staff. I'm sure that someone will be happy to help and to explain things. So thanks very much.
Thanks, Councillor Bywaters. Councillor Nelson, would you like to further? If not, I'll ask for a vote. All those in favour, against, that's carried. Thank you. 9.6, extension of existing road maintenance contract with the Department of Transport and Planning. I'll pass it around.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the intention of this report is to seek the approval to extend the current contract, road maintenance contract we have with the Department of Transport and Planning. We've been maintaining the arterial roads within the municipality for a long time, except for the Western Highway. So the current contract CM 10023 originally commenced in 2019. As expired in at the end of last year, calendar year, 31st of December 2023. the Department of Transport and Planning has requested for extension by another 6 months as they are preparing for the new specification and terms and conditions for the new contract, which will come out pretty soon. So they will come to us with the interest for continuing or entering into the new contract soon. So basically, the recommendation there is that the council approves the extension by another 6 months to 30 June 2024, and offer the CEO to negotiate and execute the contract.
Thank you, Ram. Any questions? Yes,
Yeah,
Councillor Bird.
Ram, you may not have it right at his fingertips. Approximately what sort of hours per week would we be looking at here for?
I'm happy to take that question to know.
Yeah, it would be handy. Just, I mean, I'm a great supporter of this because it employs people rather than have them come from Horsham or wherever. It employs people in our own community. And it'd be just interesting to know what value it is to council.
It has got the set amount of value. I'm just not allowed to disclose it because it's the confidential contract amount. I'm happy to talk about the amount later on. Any amount of time we spend on the arterial road, it completely gets funded through Department of Transport. So I'm going to work out the amount of times.
It'd be just interesting to know what value it is to our community and our workforce. Utilising our plant also. I'm happy to move the motion. There's no more questions or something.
Yeah, okay, yes. Councillor Bird.
Council approves the extension of the current contract CN 10023 routine maintenance of arterial road within the municipality of Hindmarsh by a further 6 months, with new contract end date to be the 30th of June 2024, and 2, authorise the CEO to negotiate, execute and deliver the contract.
Thanks, Councillor Bird. I've got a seconder. Councillor Albrecht, thank you. And did you want to speak? Councillor Albrecht? If not, I'll ask for a show of hands. All those in favour? Against? That is carried. Item 10, council committees, 10.1 advisory committees. We've got the Rainbow Township Advisory Committee, and also noting that Niltown Advisory Committee has had the resignation from Tina Bolter, and we thank her for her contribution to that committee. There's a recommendation there.
Mayor Ireland, I'm happy to move a motion that council notes the resignation of Tina Bolter from the Niltown Committee. 2, to thank Tina for her service. 3, notes the minutes of the Rainbow Town Advisory Committee held on the 20th of December 2023.
Councillor seconder. Councillor Ismay, thank you. Would you like to speak, Councillor Ismay, at all? No. If not, I'll ask for a show of hands. All those in favour? Against? It is carried. 10.2 community asset committees. We have the Wimmera Pioneer Museum and Urunga Homestead Committee. And the Antwerp Hall has submitted their financial report ending 30th of June 2023. There's a recommendation there.
Mayor, I'll move that council 1, notes the financial report for the Antwerp Hall Committee. 2, notes the minutes of the following community asset committees. Wimmera Pioneer Museum meeting on 21st November 2023. Urunga Homestead meeting on 23rd of November 2023. And 3, approves the following office bearers and members of the Wimmera Pioneer Museum Committee: Chairperson Peter Pumper, Vice Chairman Peter Robson, Secretary Craig Proctor, Treasurer Marianne Peach, members Ty Mannington, Clem Peach, Don Petter, Wendy Werner, Reese Walcotts and Wendy Werner. Wendy Zanker.
Thanks, Councillor Durst. I've got a seconder. Councillor Ismay, thank you. All those in favour? Against? That is carried. Item 11, late reports, which we have none. Item 12, any notices of motion? No. Item 13, other business. Any councillors with any other business? Yes, Councillor Durst.
A very quick ones, Mr. Mayor. R2R funding, again, it's a big issue that King has come out and tells us that the R2R funding will be doubled, but after the last week, I'm not sure whether we hold our breath for that one. But I suppose a question to senior management, have we had any advice or anything in writing regarding this?
No, there's been nothing come through in writing yet. So we are waiting, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that will be received shortly, because we are, as you're aware, starting to put together our capital works, and every time Daniel and Ram go out to a road, it gets added to our capital works schedule, and the list is getting longer and longer and longer.
So we've had no, I mean, I'm seeing headlines in our magazine today, and it's been a big issue of the funding doubling, but we've had nothing except what the media has come out with regarding that.
Yes.
I mean, it'd be pretty brave to go back on it, but they have gone back with other things, so I guess just fingers crossed on that. Okay. And the other one, just a real buzz for our community, I suppose, Mr. Mayor. I've had reason to go past Pink Lake several times over the holiday period, particularly through the day, and you can't park your car. I just find it absolutely amazing. You know, I don't know how, and perhaps ask Councillor Ismay whether that's ever been discussed in our tourism efforts, but I mean, it's placed between Dimboola, probably more Dimboola than Nil, but I just cannot get over the amount of people that stop there, and it's nearly every time I go past, when it's early in the morning or late at night, my cars are parked 100 metres down the road. And I suppose the reason I'm bringing it up is that tourism is certainly growing, and whether there is anything in the wind that we can, I'm not sure what we can do. I haven't really, the only thing I've heard that thought it's a real crash out there. But as far as everything else goes, just the foot traffic there, and I suppose the question would be to Councillor Ismay whether there's anything in the tourist line that, you know, we're looking at to do there.
I don't know that it's been mentioned that much. I'm not sure whether that issue has been raised anywhere by anyone.
I mean, Lake Tyrrell has got that much publicity and blah, blah, blah. And what I can see of it, the lake down here is just virtually very similar. It's right on the highway. And anyway, I'll just throw that in, Mr. Mayor. It's just something that I don't know how we capitalise on it, but
people often, they won't turn around, I don't believe, even though it's a bit closer to Dimmy, but certainly some signage, what's coming up in Nil might be an idea.
Anyway, just something really about tourism as we're going forward, when we're in a bit of a change, when that settles down, whether we can, you know, put that on the agenda.
The big difference between here and Lake Tyrrell is Lake Tyrrell's got a lady up there that drives it like you wouldn't believe what she's made a whole business out of it. Like she's got accommodation, she takes people out there, she takes all the Chinese tourists out there, you know, carloads of them in the first thing in the morning and at sunset, and you know, she's really pushed it. So I don't believe it's the same passion with anyone in our area that, you know, is sort of really taken on as a you know, like a promotion thing where maybe someone should.
So only something there to be put in the background. And the only other quick one, I know Monica, you spoke about this the other day, but with the boardwalk, it's on my walking track, and I'm not going to climb over it. It's boarded up like Fort Knox. Now, I think you said, or someone told me that Philip contacted regarding this. I just wonder where, I know it's not our core business, but it is a big part of our community, and people walk out there and all of a sudden they're confronted by this great locked up wall.
Yeah, so we've got the details of a person in Parks Victoria, and so as people are contacting council, that person in Parks Victoria is happy to speak with community members. We have been pushing and advocating for something to happen pretty quickly there, but it sounds like there's a little bit of work that needs to be done before the boardwalk will be open again. But we're certainly able to pass on the details of the Parks Victoria person that's responsible for the boardwalk, if there are community members that want to speak to that person.
Yeah, I think from council's point of view, we can take a smack in the head occasionally, but I think it's one where council have absolutely no say in this, and it's a bit unfortunate for the public to see that as a council decision. Well, it's not. It's nothing to do with us, even though it's part of our community and our lake, which is going ahead tremendously. Anyway, if it's in hand, well, it can't be much further than that, I guess.
Is there any other business? Briefing was cut a little bit short. Yes, Councillor Nelson.
Just a question for community interest. I noticed quite a lot of rubbish bins around town are without lids. Could someone explain the process for someone to get it in? Sure. Do you want me to talk about that, right?
I think they should contact customer service. I believe that's the standard process. So once we get the, we will proceed ahead to replace them for a cost.
If it's been damaged by the rubbish truck, then the lid will be replaced. If it's wear and tear, then they can purchase a new lid. And on our website, if you have a look under garbage or waste on our website, we do have photos of the types of different lids that there are for the bins, just because when they ring here, we'll need to know if it's a clip-on or if it's a pin lidded bin.
Together. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Yeah, sure.
Just one more regarding rubbish too. Recycle bins for the town, for in the township. CBD. Do we have a timeline for when they'll be installed?
I know they've been purchased, and I did speak with Daniel not that long ago, and he was working with the outdoor crew to try and schedule in the installation throughout the 4 towns of those. So that will be new surrounds and allow for rubbish and for recycling, something that we currently don't have in our central business districts. So it'd be nice to have.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Nelson. Any other business? If not, we'll move on to item 14, confidential reports, and there's a recommendation there. Quite a lengthy one.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that the meeting be closed in accordance with section 66 2A and section 66 2F of the Local Government Act 2020 to consider reports that contain confidential information as defined by section 3 of the Local Government Act 2020 and or part 4 of the Freedom of Information Act 1982. 14.1 Hindmarsh Youth Council nominations 2024. 14.2 Visitor Economy Partnership. 14.3 Contract Award 2023-24-14 Construction of Silo Tourism Development Rainbow, and 14.4 Acting CEO Appointment.
First, seconded by Councillor Ismay. All those in favour? Against? That is carried. Thank you, Shauna. Hi, thanks for tuning in today. I declare the February meeting of Hindmarsh Shire Council closed, and stay tuned for, we've got the Peter Taylor Barefoot Water Ski event coming up in February. I'll give that a plug, 23rd and 24th of February. It's a great event down there on the banks of Dimboola. And thanks again and good day.